Timothy Valvo says, thoughts on scout boats, looking at a 14 to 16 footish for sport fish. Scouts are a really good brand. I mean, they hold their value. They're well built. They're quality. They're expensive. So I don't think you can go wrong with the Scout. How old are you looking at? Because depending on how old the boat is, I mean, you might be looking at stuff like what's the floor situation like? What's the fuel tank situation like? You know, what's the wiring situation like? You know, there's always kinds of those factors. But as Scout as a brand, Scout is a very, very top tier brand boat. So, I mean, I don't know. There's not much else I could say on that. Alan Speyer says, nope, don't start comparing F-150 to outboards. The new F-150 don't have the same engine they did 20 years ago. The new F-150 are not near as reliable as the old F-150. So, Alan, yeah, we're not talking about trucks, bro. F-150s are like it's a model. So, like, you know, an F-150, you're thinking about a truck, but F is a designation. So F is just Yamaha stuff. So every brand usually has something like, well, mainly Suzuki, Honda, and Yamaha, all the, you know, Japanese models use F as a designation for their engines. So for Yamaha on their 4-stroke engines, they make it an F. So if it's a 90 horsepower, it's an F90. If it's 150 horsepower, it's an F150. If it's a 250 horsepower, it's an F250. If it's a, you know, 350, F350. Generally, any of the 4 strokes for Yamaha, that's their model designation. And then after that comes some more letters depending on what you have, like, you know, the transom or the drive shaft link, stuff like that. So if it's a F150 XA, you know, you have the controls are digital or analog, like there's different things there that play into fact. But yeah, an F-150 is an outboard. It's a model. Same thing for like Hondas. Hondas use the BF. So when they came out with the new 350, everybody's like, well, don't call it a BF 350. And of course they called it a BF 350. All that, the BF 150, the BF 250, the BF 225. Suzuki uses the DF. So it's a DF 150 or 140, DF 200, you know, whatever. And then they use like DT for 2 strokes. So a DT 150 is a 2-stroke 150 horsepower. So, yeah, we're comparing like models. We're comparing like Mercury doesn't do that. So their 150 is just a 150 4-stroke. So if I'm saying like an F50 versus a 150 4-stroke, like, you know, we're talking about a Yamaha versus a Mercury, not necessarily talking about F-150 trucks. That's not really what we was talking about there. But yeah, that's a little bit how model numbers work. I mean, you know, everybody has their own thing, except for Mercury. Mercury's a little bit different because their model numbers really don't mean anything to anybody. They basically need serial numbers. You need a serial number, which then gives you all the stuff about it. Their model numbers are weird. They're long. They don't really make a lot of sense, and they change. So for the most part, everybody else is pretty good. I mean, the BF-150, the F-150, the DF-140, like everybody else is pretty good as far as model numbers go. Saruman Ronnie says, hi, Aaron. Would you recommend using RingFree in a new motor during the break-in period, i.e. its first full tank? Thank you. 100%. Yeah, you use RingFree from day one, and that engine's going to have a very long life, minimal carbon buildup. Like, it's going to be a clean engine. Yes, not much more to go on that one because, yes, RingFree, big fan. Let's see here. Says, I don't know about anybody else, but for us hardworking stiffs with families that don't have a few $1 million sitting around, I wouldn't ever buy new, wasted money, ultimately buy a boat just a few years old with low hours and save a ton of money for fishing. Family-wise, I went with Key West 239 FS. Kind of bummer you didn't talk about that one, or do you not like them? So actually, I'm with you 100%. Like, that's how I buy everything. I don't buy new anything because I'm a hard-working stiff myself. I don't really have, I don't have millions of dollars in the bank. If I did, then I would be buying new stuff all the time because I could afford it, but I don't. So I usually buy old broken stuff and then make it fun again by fixing it. So I'm with you 100%. on that aspect of it, you know, buying an old versus a new. If you got money, buy new because you can afford new. Like, it's cool to have the new stuff. Like, new stuff is new stuff. It's not always as reliable as some of the old stuff. I mean, I'll give you that. Like, some of the old stuff is more reliable than some of the new stuff, but new stuff is usually more feature centric. So like, new stuff is always usually generally from recent history packed full of features. Like, it has more electrical stuff, more cool features, more like knickknacks and like, you know, things that it does, and it's feature centric. That's what also makes everything a lot more expensive, because it's more feature centric. So when you buy new stuff, you get to play around with the new cool stuff. So, you know, if you got money, then yeah, new's sweet. If you ain't got money, then yeah, used is your way to go. Like, if you ain't got money, then you don't need to be going out and getting loans to buy new stuff, because your wallet don't support new stuff. Like, you ain't new money kind of money. Like, so, you know, I think knowing your value, or not your value, but your what would you say, your income bracket and where you stand as far as, you know, the smiles per miles that you can afford is going to be different than the smiles per miles that somebody that has new money type boat kind of stuff can afford. So with you on that aspect, as far as the Key West 239 FS goes, that's pretty much my favorite Key West model boat. I don't like the 244. I like the 239 FS, especially if you get it with the 300, which a lot of them come with the 250 because it's more cheaper. But that 239 FS with a 300 Yamaha is like, I mean, that's my favorite model. Key West, as far as that goes, like the family sport, the 239 FS is a family sport model. I think that boat is slick. The layout's nice. Just the space that you have is good. The bow, the way it's set up is nice, with the seats that click in, with the backrest so you can, you know, front facing bow. Like, I'm a big fan of that boat. So yeah, I think you did great there. Now, I also like some of their flats boats. Their bay boat's pretty sweet too. The 239 Bay is also a nice model boat. Again, the 244, I don't really like the 244 with the twin 150s. Not a big fan of that one, but the 239 for sure. Sweet boat. Hey there, sorry to take you away from the video, but real quick, did you know that on average a boat owner will spend between $1,000 and $5,000 a year just on servicing their engine? And you could actually pocket and save a lot of that money if you would just do the service yourself. It might seem like a daunting task, but I guarantee you virtually everyone can do it with our guidance and the Boaters program. This is just one skill that you could learn inside the program, because we have hundreds of other videos teaching you all kinds of boating skills, as well as a weekly live stream where we have questions and answers with me, as well as a chat feature where you can send videos and pictures, ask all kinds of questions, or look for some advice or some guidance on a project that you're doing on your boat. You can join the program by hitting the first link in the description, clicking join, or visiting bornagainboating.com. Now back to the video.